Welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're with me, SLPP, bringing you the news for Newsfirst, where we are and always will be with the people. Let's start off by taking a look at your headlines tonight.
SLPP MP Sanath Nishantha reveals information on goal-faced protest given to him by the CID.
අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙන් මගෙත් එක්ක කිව්වා. ඒකේ සමහර වෙනම කුටි තියෙනවා ගංජා ගහන කුටි, සමහර කුටි තියෙනවා අයිස් ගහන කුටි, සමහර කුටි තියෙනවා මේ හෙරොයින් ගහන කුටි.
Will former President Gotabaya return to Sri Lanka?
ස්ථිර දිනයක් පිළිබඳ මාත්‍ර දැනුවත් බවක් නැහැ දැනට.
Indian Prime Minister congratulates President Ranil Wickremesinghe. President's appointment violates people's mandate. Futa protest at island-wide universities.
Ranil Wickremesinghe අපි කියනවා අපි හැප්පෙන්න ලෑස්ති හැප්පිලා බලමු.
4 people arrested for violating a court order and idling near Bandaranayake statue.
මෙතන ඉන්නේ අරගලකරුවෝ කවුරුවත් මේ පිළිවෙල සෙනඟක් දඟලන්නේ නැහැ. මේ ශිෂ්ටන් වහන්සේලා හදන නමක් මෙතන බස් සමාදන් වෙලා ඉන්නේ. මේක නිසා දැන් අපිට මේ සීමාවෙන් එළි ඉවත් වෙන්න බෑ. මොකද බුද්ධ නීතිය.
Police must adequately compensate victims of first Gotagogama attack, says Human Rights Commission. Ruling party MPs meet at the Finance Ministry. SJB set up the National People's Council to discuss the people's issues.
Main sponsor.
Earn a highest interest rate of 21% for 4 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru.
In your top story, SLPP parliamentarian Sanath Nishantha said that the Aragalaya should have been dealt with the same way dissent was dealt with in the 70s and 80s.
It is my personal view that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa did not face this issue properly. This is not the stance of the SLPP. This is the position of Sanath Nishantha. If Madam Sirimavo Bandaranayake could face the 1971 riots, if J.R. Jayawardena and Ranasinghe Premadasa were able to face the 1988 and 1989 riots and also eliminate terrorism, these present-day agitators should not be treated separately. There is a certain way of treating them. As a result of not responding to them appropriately, we are experiencing the present situation. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was forced to vacate the presidency and leave the country because he could not properly face the uprising from the bankrupt Frontline Socialist Party and the JVP that could not even muster 3% of votes in the country.
හැටනම ලක්ෂයක් ඡන්දෙ දෙන්නේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා පරාජයට පත්.
හැටනම ලක්ෂයක් කියන්නේ සහෝදරයා ඔය
The 6.9 million people are not represented by those who grow their hair long, smoke cannabis and go stand at the protest site when given a packet of drugs. The 6.9 million people are those living in this country. We challenge for an election. Then the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna will show where the people's mandate really lies. A group of drug users and ill-disciplined people occupy the premises. If drug users can topple governments like this, they are doing it anytime they want a 10 kilogram of drugs. Ice is a drug. When taken as a small dose, make people go insane.
කොටස කාන්දන් ටික. මේක මේ කන් හැන්දකින් එකක් විතර. මේකෙන් එකක් බීපුවම තමයි පිස්සු ගෙලින්නේ. මේකට
අය ඔබතුමාගේ මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය සම්බන්ධ චෝදනාවක් එල්ල කරන්න ඕන.
ඉතින් ප්‍රසිද්ධියේ මිනිස්සු මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය ගහන නිසානේ. අපරාධ
When we went to the Criminal Investigations Department, they told me that there are separate rooms to consume cannabis, ice and heroin. You must have seen that video on social media of these particular groups demanding the police officers step out of their gama or village. Doesn't their village have laws? There are 14,022 registered Grama Niladhari divisions in the country. Don't the law...
දැන් අරගලකරුවෝ කියන්නේ කොහොම හරි එලවනවා කියලා දැන් එලවුවා කියලා කියන්නේ උන් ජය
14,000කට ජනාධිපතිවරු එලවන්න බෑ. ඔය අරගල
14,000 people cannot chase away presidents. The Aragalaya is made up of those 14,000 and groups using cannabis and herbs. We will not fear to come back. We are not engaged in politics in fear of the ill-disciplined.
අපි කොහෙවත් තියෙන රස්තියාදුකාරයන්ට බයි දේශපාලනය කරන්නේ.
දැන් රාජපක්ෂවරු නැවත බලයට එන්නේ.
ඒවට පෞද්ගලිකව රාජපක්ෂ කියලා දිගට කිය මොකක්ද අවුලක් තියෙනවා පෞද්ගලික තරහක් තියෙනවා. නෑ මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද කරන්න මං කියන්නම් පයින්.
ප්‍රශ්නෙට ඔබතුමාට උත්තරයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
නෑ කියන්නකෝ.
මල්ලා නැවත බලයට එීම ඉඩ කඩක් තියෙනවද කියලා මං අහන්න ඔබතුමා උදාහරණයක් කිව්වනේ 2015 මෙහෙම වුණා.
ජනතාවනේ තීරණය කරන්නේ. බොහෝ විට එන්න පුළුවන්.
Is former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa set to make a return to Sri Lanka?
Journalists attending the weekly cabinet media briefing questioned the cabinet spokesperson on the possible return of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
දැන් සිංගප්පූරුවට ගොස් සිංගප්පූරුවේ සංගලී සිටිනවා. දැන් සිංගප්පූරුවේ නීතිපතිවරයා වෙත පැමිණිල්ලක් ඉදිරිපත් කළා තියෙනවා. ඔව් අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න. යුද අපරාධ ප්‍රවෘත්ති සම්බන්ධයෙන්. එම නිසා ඔව් ඇමරිකාවෙන් වීසා ඉල්ලලා තියෙනවා නැවත. ඒ වීසා ලබා දීමත් ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කළා තියෙනවා ඇමරිකාව. එතකොට නැවත ඔව් අගෝස්තු මාසයේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට එන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා ඇමතුමනි.
ඒකරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා හිටපු සංගවිලා
I do not believe that the former president is in hiding. He went overseas via official channels. I am told that he will return. If there is a situation, the responsible officials in the country will take steps to ensure no harm is done to the former president.
බලධාරීන් අපේ රටේ හිටපු ජනාධිපතිවරයාට උපද්‍රවයක් එලෙසින් සිදු නොවෙන්න අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු යොදයි. හිටපු ජනාධිපතිතුමා නැවත පැමිණීම පිළිබඳ ස්ථිර දිනයක් පිළිබඳ මාත්‍ර දැනුවත් බවක් නැහැ දැනට.
A request was made from the Sri Lankan Supreme Court stating that fundamental rights applications filed over the Easter Sunday attacks naming Ranil Wickremesinghe as a respondent cannot be carried forward as he was elected president.
Multiple factions objected to the request made by the Sri Lankan Supreme Court stating that fundamental rights applications filed over the Easter Sunday attacks naming Ranil Wickremesinghe as a respondent cannot be carried forward as he was elected as the president. 12 fundamental rights applications were called up again today in the presence of a 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court led by Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya. Attorney at law Suren Fernando, who appeared for Ranil Wickremesinghe, raised an objection before the court and said that since his client has been elected as the president, it is not possible to conduct a case against him as per Article 35 of the Constitution. But in view of the objections expressed by other parties, the Supreme Court informed the lawyers of former President Maithripala Sirisena, who is named as a respondent in the petitions, to make their submissions on Wednesday concerning the preliminary objections. Several parties, including the Sri Lanka Bar Association, families of the victims of the East attacks and relatives of the deceased, filed these fundamental rights petitions.
Now, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he looks forward to closely working with President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi sent a congratulatory letter to President Ranil Wickremesinghe on his election to office. The letter reads, quote, "You have assumed the high office at a critical time for Sri Lanka. I hope your tenure will nurture economic stability as well as fulfill the aspirations of all citizens of Sri Lanka. As a close friend and neighbor of Sri Lanka, India will continue to be supportive of the quest of the people of Sri Lanka for stability and economic recovery through established democratic means, institutions and constitutional framework." End quote. The letter further noted that the Indian Prime Minister looks forward to working closely with President Wickremesinghe for the mutual benefit of the people of both nations and also further strengthening the age-old close and friendly relationships between the two countries. The letter concluded saying, quote, "I wish Your Excellency a successful term in office. Please accept, Excellency, the assurances of my highest consideration." End quote.
The Federation of University Teachers Associations, or FUTA, claimed that the sitting president was elected with a zero mandate. FUTA engaged in protests at multiple locations in the country, calling on the president to end suppression and pave the way for elections for the people to decide on their mandate.
The Federation of University Teachers Unions gathered opposite the Naval Open University this afternoon. While staging a protest, they urged that a populist government should be established after chasing away the Gota Ranil coalition.
ළමා ලපටියෙක් වගේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ වැඩ කරන්න හදනවා. අපි
Ranil Wickremesinghe is trying to work like a child. We would like to tell the president that if he is working as per the constitution, he has a responsibility to read the articles 3 and 4 of the constitution. Don't play with them and with the people's sovereignty.
නැවගිරුණත් බෑන්චුන් වැඩේ කරන්න හදන්න එපා. අරගලයෙන් රටට ගෙනාපු පණිවිඩය විකෘති පණිවිඩයක් කරන්න හදන රාජපක්ෂ පණිවිඩය අරගෙන යන පොළඳ ටින්ටින් කෙනෙක් වෙන අවස්ථාව නවත්තන්න නවත්තන එක. රටේ පණවිඩේ තමයි.
The message of the country is to change the system of governance. If you think that the country will dance to your own tunes, you are mistaken. You need to understand the message of the country. We were always on the side of the people. If you think that you can build this country without listening to the people's opinion of the country, you cannot do that. We are ready to face Ranil Wickremesinghe. We as university lecturers are ready to face off with the system that protects the politicians.
අපි හැප්පෙන්න ලෑස්ති. විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ආචාර්යවරු විදියට
කිසිම විසඳුමක් නැහැ. They have no plan and no solution. They only work to hold on to power and earn money from commissions. We see this government as a planless government. Parliament must be dissolved. The people must decide on the mandate in Parliament.
මේ ජනතාවගේ ජනමතය නෙමෙයි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ තියෙන්නේ.
Teachers, student activists as well as non-academic staff participated in the protest held at the University of Peradeniya close to the Galaha Junction. The president and the government that has no real mandate is using the emergency law to suppress the rights of the people and their reasonable demands. The emergency must be lifted and the use of the Prevention of Terrorism Act to suppress the people must end. At the same time, the police must be given the power to maintain the law and the peace. The military must be sent back to the barracks. The lecturers of the Rajarata University of Sri Lanka also protested today. In the face of the socio-economic crisis, the education of children, employment and business have been affected negatively. There is no fuel or food. Adding more pressure on the people is not a wise thing. Another protest was held opposite the main entrance of the University of Ruhuna. Meanwhile, the lecturers at the Southeastern University of Sri Lanka also protested today.
Tense scenes were witnessed at the Galface protest site when police started measuring a 50-meter area surrounding the Bandaranayake statue today.
Sri Lanka police arrested 4 people idling near the SWRD Bandaranayake statue at Galface, violating a court order. The Colombo Fort Magistrates Court recently issued an order preventing entry into an area of 50 meters from the location of the Bandaranayake statue at Galface. This afternoon, Sri Lanka police took steps to measure a 50-meter area surrounding the Bandaranayake statue.
මේක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මීටර් 50ක ප්‍රමාණයක් යන්න ඕනේ. අපි දැන් ආවේ මේ ප්‍රමාණය මාක් කරලා දීලා යන්න. අයින් කරන්න නෙමෙයි දැන් ආවේ. මාක් කරලා දීලා යන්න අපේ ආමතුරුනේ අපි හොඳ බෞද්ධයෝ. අපි බෞද්ධ මේ පන්සල් වලට පල්ලි වලට කිසි හානියක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
මෙතන ඉන්න අරගලකරුවෝ කවුරුවත් මේ පිළිම පෙරවන් දඟලන්නේ නැහැ. මේ භික්ෂුන් වහන්සේලා 4 නමක් මෙතන බස් සමාදන් වෙලා ඉන්නේ. මේක නිසා දැන් අපිට මේ සීමාවෙන් එළි දුරක් වෙන්න බෑ. මොකද බුද්ධ නීතිය වෙනවනේ. වස් කැඩෙන නිසා අපිට මේ භූමියෙන් යන්න බෑ. අපි කියන්නේ
ඔබ වහන්සේලා මොන මේ නිකායද ඔබ වහන්සේ?
රාමායන නිකාය.
ඔබ වහන්සේ
අමරපුර නිකාය.
මෙහෙමයි දැන් මේ එමරින් වහන්සේලාට එහෙම අයින් වෙන්න බෑ කියනවා නම් මට ස්ටේට්මන්ට් එකක් නම් දෙන්න.
අපිට පුළුවන්. අපි කියලා තියෙන අපි කියන්නේ අපි මේක පිළිමෙට කිසිම හානියක් පිළිමෙන්නේ ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ. දැන් මෙච්චර කාලයක් හිටියා.
පොඩක් තමා වෙන හැමදෙරෝනේ මට ඔය කියන දේ පැහැදිලිව තේරෙනවා. දැන් අධිකරණයට යනවයි කියලා කියනවනේ. ඒ අධිකරණයට යන දවසට හැමදෙරෝල්ලා ඒකට අවශ්‍ය පියවර ගන්නවා. හරිද? ඒ කොමින් ඔය මට අවස්ථාව දෙන්නකෝ. මම පැහැදිලි කරානේ. එතකොට ඒ අර දවසට හැමදෙරෝන්ගේ තියෙන හැකියාව ඒක අධිකරණයට කියන්නේ. එතකොට මේක අවලංගු කිරීමක් කොයි ඉදිරි ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් පිළිබඳව උපදෙසක් දෙයි. එතකන් අපි ක්‍රියා කරන්න ඕනේ මේ විශ්ව අධිකරණ නියම. අර යාවන්න ඇතුළු කියන්නේ මේ ඉන්න පුද්ගලයෝ. එහෙම කියොත් අධිකරණ නියෝගයක් ක්‍රියා කරන්න බෑ මහත්තයා. අපි මෙතනට ගත්තට
Thereafter, the group expressed their protest to the police officers who were present.
විධායක ජනාධිපතිවරයාට වර්තමාන අගමැතිවරයා කියනවා බඳුන් කරේ කම්බෝරා කියලා. ඒ කම්බෝරාගෙන්ම අගමැති තනතුර ගත්තා. ඔය දිනේෂ් ගුණවර්ධනට අනුශාසනා කරන පූජකරුන්ට අපි කියනවා මේ රටේ මහ ජනතාවගේ ප්‍රශ්නවලට නීතිය තදින්ම ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා නම් බඳුන් කරේ හොරා කවුද කියලා වර්තමාන අගමැතිව කියලා දිනවා නම් අපි මේ රටේ ජනතාවට කියනවා අධිකරණය ව්‍යවස්ථාදායකය විධායකය ඔය තුනටම වඩා ජනතා බලය බලවත් ඒ බලය ජනතාව
The activists proceeded to vacate the area, complying with the court order.
Now the 4 people who were arrested for violating a court order and remaining within the 50-meter area from the Bandaranayake statue at Galle Face were remanded until the 29th of July. They were produced to Fort Magistrate Thelina Gamage today. Now moving on with more news, the Criminal Investigations Department carried out an in-flight arrest of an Aragala activist today. Now, the CID arrested an Aragala activist identified as Danish Ali while he was attempting to travel to Dubai. The social media footage showed the in-flight arrest, and police said he was connected to the incident where activists stormed into Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation recently.
What is happening? My rights! This is my rights, man! They don't have my arrest warrant to travel without arrest warrant. Don't do that. Don't touch. This is what's happening in Sri Lanka.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka said that Sri Lanka police must adequately compensate the victims of the attack on the Gotago Gama protest site on the 9th of May 2022.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, in its inquiry on the 9th May unrest, said that the IGP was clearly in breach of duty by failing to provide adequate protection to the peaceful protesters and to uphold the rule of law. It is also recommended to the President to direct an investigation into the lapse on the part of all the senior police officers, including IGP downwards, who were on duty at the protesting site in Colombo for their inability to provide adequate protection to the peaceful protesters on the 9th of May 2022. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka said that if victims can be identified, the police must adequately compensate those victims for the injuries suffered.
MPs from the ruling party met at the Finance Ministry today for a meeting with the President.
The parliamentary group of the ruling party met with President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Finance Ministry this afternoon. It is reported that the Secretary of Defence and the intelligence chiefs also participated in this meeting. The ruling party MPs were briefed on the current security situation in the country and the reasons for the imposition of state of emergency. Many senior members of the SLPP, including the former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, participated in this meeting, and another group including Dalasalaha Peruma, Channa Jayasumana and Nalaka Godeheva did not participate.
The bill on the emergency situation will be moved to tomorrow. We need to take the necessary measures to prevent the country from heading into a state of anarchy. Everyone has the right to engage in peaceful protest. However, that should not lead to an undemocratic state. The priority is to solve the crisis. We need to solve the fuel and gas issues. Thereafter, we need to provide relief to the people.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe issued an extraordinary gazette amending the subjects and functions of ministries.
The extraordinary gazette notification notes that subjects, functions and departments, public corporations and statutory institutions that are not specifically assigned to any minister will continue to remain in charge of the President. Accordingly, the Ministry of Finance, Defence, Ports and Maritime Affairs are under the purview of the President. The Ministry of Women, Child Affairs and Social Empowerment, Investment Promotion and Technology will also remain under the President. This extraordinary gazette was issued with effect from the 22nd of July 2022.
The Samagi Jana Balawegaya decided to establish a People's Council for the purpose of taking the proposals made by the people to the Parliament and making an optimal effort to mediate on their behalf.
The inaugural meeting of the People's Council took place at the office of the opposition leader under the auspices of the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa. The People's Council was formed representing all factions and Thisathanayake was appointed as the convener while Mujibur Rahman was appointed as a secretary.
Simply put, today we are doing the things we expect to do under our government, centering the opposition leader's office. Through the opposition leader's office, which functions under taxpayers' money, and the People's Council, which will convene at 2 p.m. every Tuesday, factions can address us without the limitation of civil organizations and mass organizations. We established this council to listen to your proposals and provide solutions.
Meanwhile, the working committee of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya and the Samagi Jana Alliance convened at the opposition leader's office today. During the meeting, it was unanimously decided to vote against the emergency law at tomorrow's debate. The Samagi Jana Balawegaya said that they will not work with a government that enacts state terrorism directly and indirectly in a suppressive manner instead of providing solutions to the issues faced by the people. They have also decided to extend their support if a committee system is implemented to find solutions to the burning issues of the people within the parliament democratic system.
82
votes were cast against Ranil Wickremesinghe at the parliament ballot to elect a president. Tomorrow we will be able to openly see who covered behind the secret vote.
Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Gopal Bagle said that after helping Sri Lanka with an unprecedented assistance of around $4 billion since January, India is now planning to invest heavily in newer sectors through both private and public firms in India.
Indian High Commissioner, speaking to the print, said that discussions with the new government in Sri Lanka have already begun regarding which sectors the investments will be coming in. He said Indian investors from the public as well as private sectors will explore opportunities in key sectors of ports and infrastructure, renewable energy, electricity, hydrocarbons, agriculture, dairy, education and information technology, among others. He said the National Thermal Power Plant Limited of India is looking at establishing a solar power plant in Sampur in eastern Sri Lanka near Trincomalee under a joint collaboration with the Ceylon Electricity Board. Similarly, the High Commissioner said Sri Lanka has huge potential in solar and wind energy, thus can only be exported to India after meeting its own requirements. He said that India has made a strong case for Sri Lanka in bilateral talks, also with the US, Japan and Australia for coming forward to help the country. Apart from investments, Bagle said both sides are now also working towards expediting the conclusion of the pending Economic and Technology Cooperation Agreement, which will go beyond the existing India-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement that came into force in March 2000.
Main sponsor.
Earn a highest interest rate of 21% for 4 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru.
2 more Sri Lankan citizens died in incidents related to fuel queues, and these deaths were reported from Matale and Mathara. During the past week alone, 6 lives were lost in incidents connected to fuel queues, either from accidents or by illness.
Nimal Chandrasekhara from Kula in Matale had visited the Matale Sipetco filling station on Sunday with the sole intention of heading back home with fuel. As per the number plate method, he was scheduled to receive fuel today and had been on one side of the road opposite the queue of vehicles that were to receive fuel yesterday. On Monday night, he had gone back to his vehicle to move into the queue of vehicles that would receive fuel today, and thereafter his car had gently collided with another car. According to Newsfirst correspondents, a small crowd quickly gathered around the small accident, only to discover that Nimal Chandrasekhara had passed away at the wheel. Richard Dias, a 79-year-old resident of Godagama in Mathura who was in queue for fuel, died following a motor accident. The tragedy took place when he was crossing the road.
He had crossed the road for a cup of tea and had passed the white line in the corner. However, a speeding Ports Authority vehicle crashed into him. He suffered multiple bone injuries. A vehicle that was serving tea to those in the queue managed to catch up to the fleeing vehicle. He crossed the road and it did not even take a second for the vehicle to crash onto him. Richard died on the spot. It was a staff vehicle from the Ports Authority.
Meanwhile, thousands of Sri Lankans continue to remain in queues for fuel. Although fuel was issued based on the last digit of the vehicle registration number, there were instances where this process was violated. This was the situation in Kurunegala today. The people who were in line at the filling station belonging to the Kurunegala Cooperative Society have been waiting for fuel for 3 days. When the Cooperative Society attempted to take away 682 litres of petrol in barrels, the premises were raided by the Consumer Affairs Authority. Personnel from the Cooperative Society obstructed the offices of the Consumer Authority and said that they were taking the fuel for the generators installed at the Kurunegala Cooperative Society. When the Consumer Authority tried to take the stock of fuel to the police, the officials of the Cooperative Society that owns the filling station threatened that if the lorry with fuel was taken away, fuel would not be released to the people. Thereafter, they produced a letter from the Divisional Secretary dated today and managed to secure the release of the lorry from the Consumer Affairs Authority.
The weekly petrol and diesel quota to be issued to vehicles through the National Fuel Pass system from the 1st of August has been increased.
The weekly petrol and diesel quota for the National Fuel Pass has been increased. According to the quota system, 3-wheelers will be given 5 litres of petrol or diesel, 4 litres of petrol for motorbikes and 20 litres of petrol or diesel for cars and vans, while other light vehicles will be able to obtain 15 litres petrol or diesel. Trucks will be given 50 litres of diesel and buses will be given 40 litres of diesel per week. All 3-wheeler drivers have been requested to register their 3-wheelers at their respective area police stations and nominate one fuel station before the 31st of July. From the 1st of August, 3-wheelers will only be allowed to obtain fuel from their registered fuel station. From the 1st of August, fuel will only be issued for the National Fuel Pass that operates using a QR code.
The Federation of University Teachers Association has responded to the claim made by SLPP MP Sanath Nishantha on how the former president should have dealt with the Aragalaya.
අපි කරුණාවෙන් කියනවා ආයේ මේ රට 88 89 තියෙන මලමිනී ගණන්.
If state-sponsored terrorism is attempting to take this country back to the dark era of the 1980s, this is a serious blow. This message is to Sanath Nishantha. This Aragalaya includes university teachers, lawyers, trade unions and groups representing various rights. The entire country has given one single message. This struggle is not centered around Galface, but a voice that rose across the country centering Galface. If this is the response given to the calls of the people, we demand that the country not be taken to the dark ages. If attempts are being made to suppress the rights and freedom of expression, we as the Federation of University Teachers Association will step up for the people.
අයිතිවාසිකම් භාෂණයේ නිදහස ප්‍රකාශනයේ නිදහස සීමා කරන්න නම් යෙදෙන්නේ අපි එදාට ඒ වෙනුවෙන් පෙනී හිටිනවා කියන එක විශ්වවිද්‍යාලාචාර්ය සමිති සම්මේලනයේ විදියට පැහැදිලිවම කියා සිටිනවා.
Many trade unions and civil and mass organizations are preparing to take necessary steps to steer away from the anti-democratic avenue. The following views were expressed at the Trade Union Coordinating Center.
One person was arrested for looting objects from the president's office, but the one responsible for the bond scam has been elected as the president. At a time when a party including Ranil Wickremesinghe has been accused for the bond scam, the same group has been appointed to oversee the central bank. We asked the IGP, at a time when the culprit behind the bond scam becomes president, has any of the court cases pertaining to the sugar scam being investigated? The Ranil Rajapaksa administration is now arresting the people at the Galface protest site. They are imposing foreign travel bans on leaders of the Aragalaya. They are not engaged in the struggle to travel abroad. They are doing so to make this country a better place. We urge the Ranil Rajapaksa government, whom 80% of the people oppose, to immediately stop suppression. Remember that those who vote in favour of the emergency law are voting in favour of suppression. Dissolve parliament and hold an election. The people will select the government they desire. There is no other alternative. The suppression by the Ranil Rajapaksa conspiratorial government is intensifying step by step. They are marking the next person to be suppressed. They attack from one end, claiming to reclaim the president's office, and from the other, claiming 50 meters from the Bandaranaike statue. When that happens from either end, there will be no protest site. That is why they established an agitation site. There is no survival for the Ranil Rajapaksa government. Many factions are with us to drive away this government. We wish to tell the Rajapakshas and Ranil that we are ready.
Wickremesinghe, who robbed the presidency after Gotabeya's escape, has now made a list of the names of the Galface activists and started hunting them. They are banning them from travelling abroad. Some don't even have a passport, so they don't even think about leaving the country. But Ranil Wickremesinghe led the robbery of the central bank of this country, and those robbers are left free. Find them. Take action against them. This President Wickremesinghe has no interest in making their lists. After Gotabaya was ousted, the people of this country raised their voices, and that is a matter that has been said both internationally and locally. Forgetting that matter, he is acting like a pirate today, doing as he pleases. Does this country need a president, a cabinet or a parliament like that?
The COVID-19 pandemic and the economic crisis has made working from home a familiar phenomenon to many in Sri Lanka. Is working from home the future? Newsfirst's Ruhasa Irfan filed this report.
With the COVID-19 pandemic and the technology boom, the labour market was severely affected. This is where work from home was introduced and implemented. This paradigm shift changed the traditional working environment. Do we really need to be at office to get our work done? The COVID-19 pandemic showed that the alternative, which was working from home, proved to be the more efficient option for most workplaces around the world. A study by the World Economic Forum shows that 2/3 of the people around the world want to work flexibly when the pandemic is over. Analysis of trends by the World Economic Forum show that more and more workplaces also show preference towards work from home. Some of these reasons are saving up on utility bills. Working from home has proven to be more effective in reducing the cost of electricity and water used at office, since most offices will be empty or be functioning at half capacity. Some businesses around the world have opted to completely shift to work from home, selling back their office spaces and saving a fortune in rent. Work from home increases productivity. The survey shows that workers in 29 countries coped better when working from home. Work from home has also shown to be more preferable for employees because it saves time from commuting. Employees are able to save time when they work from home rather than spending time commuting to work. It cuts down expenses. Cutting down expenses for food and office wear has proven easy with work from home. Managing time and personal time. Studies have shown that more and more employees claim that they can focus on their mental health and reserve time for downtime. But what is the situation like in Sri Lanka? Sadly enough, extensive research into this matter has not been carried out. We opted to ask the general public on what they think about working from home.
Given the option between working from home and going to work, I prefer working from home because it allows me to manage my time much better.
For me, to work from home is really hard to communicate. The whole process is much more faster than working from home.
Half of working from home was pretty okay. It was good initially that you don't have to spend so much of time traveling, you're saving a lot of time. But as time went, it just became mentally draining for me. Communication was a bit of a problem because it was online.
Well, given the fuel crisis, of course, working from home sounds great, but still I prefer going to work because it just has a better environment to work at. It's easy to find help, so all of that just makes it more conducive to be efficient and get work done.
Work from home is like a coin. It has its head and tail. We don't know what side it might land on. Studies show that work from home could encourage female labour participation. Is work from home the future? Only time will tell us.
Let's cross over to a short commercial break and come back for more news.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ?
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙවෙයිද දැම්මේ?
හදිස්සියට බාල පයිප් එකක් දැම්මේ. නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටා.
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා. හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප් එකක්.
ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජනනල කාර්මිකයා දැන් ළඟම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Earn a highest interest rate of 21% for 4 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru.
Welcome back to the news. Up next is Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
A 34-year-old was brutally murdered close to the Orugodavatta flyover last night. Sri Lanka police said that two masked men had arrived in a luxury car and brutally attacked the victim with sharp weapons. The man was ruled dead upon admission to hospital, and it was reported that he was a resident of Meetotamulla. Sri Lanka police said that the investigations revealed that the deceased was connected to drug trafficking and had 2 pending criminal cases filed against him.
Crime Watch.
The second phase of the Dibisavia program to distribute dry rations among families in need was held for the 20th day today. The program is sponsored by LOLC Holdings.
Essential relief packages were distributed at selected locations in the Trincomalee district. The Dibisavia program aims at supporting low-income families suffering in the face of the economic crisis.
That's a wrap of primetime news here in TV1 for today. As always, stay safe, take care, and have a good night.